Hello and welcome. Today we will travel along one of the most famous trade routes in history, the Silk Road. This story is about adventure, culture, friendship, and learning. You will meet a young merchant named Li Wei, who dreams of traveling from China to Europe. Along the way, he will face deserts, mountains, bandits, and bustling cities. He will meet people from many different cultures and learn valuable lessons. The Silk Road was more than a road. It was a bridge between East and West, connecting people, ideas, food, art, and stories. Every traveler had a story to tell, and every city had a secret to share. Today you will follow Li Wei on his journey, and through this story you will practice your English, learn new words, and enjoy an exciting adventure. So make yourself comfortable, maybe even have a cup of tea or coffee, and let's begin our journey along the Silk Road. Close your eyes if you like, and imagine the deserts, mountains, and cities Li Wei will visit. This is the story of adventure, trade, and friendship, the story of the Silk Road. Li Wei lived in the city of Xi'an, a bustling city in ancient China. His family had been merchants for generations, trading silk, tea, and spices. Li Wei loved the colorful fabrics, the smell of tea, and the stories of travelers from distant lands. But he wanted more than to stay in the city. He wanted to see the world, just like the merchants who came to his market each year. One morning, Li Wei packed his belongings. He carefully selected the finest silk, wrapped spices in strong cloth, and loaded tea into small wooden boxes. Camels were prepared to carry the goods. He checked every strap and rope, knowing that a small mistake could ruin months of work. Before leaving, Li Wei said goodbye to his family. His mother gave him a small jade pendant for protection. His father reminded him to be honest, brave, and respectful. Li Wei promised he would return with stories and wealth. With a heart full of excitement and a little fear, he joined the caravan that would take him along the Silk Road. The first days were peaceful. Li Wei enjoyed the fresh air outside the city walls, the sight of mountains in the distance, and the chatter of other merchants. He learned to read the maps, understand the weather, and take care of the camels. These lessons would be very important soon. At night, the caravan camped under the stars. Li Wei listened to stories of travelers learning about strange lands, unusual foods, and foreign customs. He realized that the Silk Road was not just about trading goods. It was about sharing knowledge and connecting people from different worlds. After a week, the caravan entered the Taklamakan Desert. The desert was vast and dangerous, with golden sands stretching to the horizon. The sun was hot during the day, and the nights were very cold. Li Wei learned to carry water carefully and follow the guide's instructions to find hidden oases. One day a sandstorm arrived. The wind was strong, and the sand stung their faces. The camels slowed, and travelers huddled together. Li Wei remembered his father's words. Patience and courage were as important as skill. Hours passed before the storm ended, and the caravan finally reached a small oasis with palm trees and fresh water. At the oasis, traders from Persia and India shared dates, nuts, and tea. Li Wei tasted flavors he had never imagined. Travelers told stories of distant lands, strange animals, and unusual customs. Li Wei realized that the Silk Road was a place where cultures met, exchanged, and learned from each other. One night, bandits attacked the caravan. Li Wei's heart raced as arrows flew and camels panicked. He helped defend the goods, working together with other traders. After a long struggle, the bandits ran away. Around the fire, the travelers sang songs to calm themselves. eating dried fruits and drinking strong tea. Li Wei felt proud. He understood that courage and teamwork could overcome danger. During the desert journey, Li Wei also learned to read the stars for navigation. He discovered how to find direction when landmarks were invisible. Every day he grew stronger, braver, and wiser. The desert was harsh, but it taught him lessons he would never forget. After the desert, the caravan reached the Pamir Mountains. Snow covered the peaks and icy winds blew through narrow paths. Li Wei carefully guided the camels over steep rocks. One wrong step could be fatal. Travelers helped each other, sharing ropes and advice. In the mountains, Li Wei met merchants from Persia and India. They carried spices, carpets, and precious stones. Though they spoke different languages, gestures, drawings, and smiles allowed them to communicate. Li Wei learned the importance of patience and respect when meeting people from other cultures. At night, travelers stayed in small inns or tents. They shared warm meals, told stories, and learned songs from each other. Li Wei tasted new dishes and listened to stories about kings, traders, and distant lands. The mountains taught him that travel was not only about goods, but also about friendship and learning. One day, the caravan had to cross a dangerous, icy pass. The camels slipped, and travelers held their breath. Li Wei remembered his father's advice, stay calm and work together. Slowly, step by step, everyone reached the other side safely. The sense of accomplishment filled Li Wei with pride and confidence. After weeks of traveling through deserts and mountains, the caravan finally arrived in Samarkand. The city sparkled under the sun, with tall buildings, colorful markets, and bustling streets filled with people from many lands. Merchants shouted their offers, musicians played strange instruments, and the smell of spices filled the air. Li Wei could hardly believe his eyes. Silk from China, carpets from Persia, spices from India, and precious stones from distant lands were displayed in every shop. Traders and buyers bargained loudly, and the sounds of the city created a lively, exciting melody. Li Wei walked carefully through the market. He noticed a young artist painting bright patterns on the walls and a group of musicians playing a tune he had never heard. The city was alive with energy and ideas. He realized that Samarkand was not only a trading hub, but also a center of culture and learning. At the market, Li Wei met a Persian merchant named Farid. Farid welcomed him warmly and offered advice on selling silk. They discussed prices, quality, and techniques. Li Wei learned how to negotiate politely yet firmly. Farid also told stories about Samarkand's history, famous scholars and travelers who had passed through the city. Li Wei listened carefully, fascinated by every detail. At night, the caravan rested in inns, filled with travelers from China, Persia, India, and even Europe. Li Wei shared tea with his companions, learning songs, proverbs, and tales from their homelands. He realized that the Silk Road was a bridge connecting not only goods, but also knowledge, culture, and friendship. Days passed quickly. Li Wei sold some of his silk and bought spices and carpets for trade further west. Every interaction taught him new lessons: patience in negotiation, respect for different customs, and curiosity about other ways of life. Samarkand was a jewel in the Silk Road, a city where the world met, shared, and thrived. After leaving Samarkand, the caravan traveled west toward Persia. The landscape changed from desert sands to green plains and rivers. Persian cities were filled with gardens, fountains, and colorful markets. Li Wei admired the architecture, domes, arches, and intricate patterns on walls and doors. In a Persian city, Li Wei met Farid again. Farid introduced him to local traders, showing him the spices, carpets, and ceramics that were highly valued in China. Li Wei learned about measurement, currency, and bargaining customs. Every city had its own rules, and he had to adapt quickly. Farid taught Li Wei how to speak politely to customers, read the signs of the market, and recognize trustworthy traders. He also taught him the importance of understanding people's customs and respecting traditions. Li Wei realized that trading was not only about goods, but also about building relationships and trust. In the evenings, Li Wei explored the city streets. He listened to musicians, tasted exotic foods, and watched artisans create beautiful crafts. He discovered that travel along the Silk Road was a journey of learning, not just of carrying goods. Every new city, every conversation, every meal was an opportunity to understand the world better. Li Wei and Farid prepared the silk and spices for the next stage of the journey, the Mediterranean. With new knowledge, confidence, and valuable goods, Li Wei felt ready to face new challenges. He understood that success depended on courage, respect, and curiosity, not just on carrying precious items. Finally, the caravan reached the Mediterranean coast. The city was full of ships, sailors, and traders from Europe and beyond. Li Wei's silk, spices, and carpets were ready to be loaded onto ships for distant lands. European merchants watched with fascination, seeing goods they had never imagined. Li Wei learned how to work with port authorities, load goods onto ships, and negotiate with European buyers. He saw the excitement of the city, markets filled with fruits, fabrics, and exotic objects. The Mediterranean coast was lively, colorful, and full of energy. In Europe, Li Wei observed the reaction to Chinese silk. People admired its beauty, smoothness, and bright colors. Spices from India and Persia were highly valued for cooking and medicine. Li Wei realized that his long journey had brought joy and wonder to people thousands of miles away from China. During this time, Li Wei also met European scholars and travelers. They exchanged stories about geography, culture, and history. Li Wei shared Chinese ideas, tea and silk, learning in return about European customs, foods, and inventions. The Silk Road was more than a trade route. It was a path of cultural exchange, connecting the world. After weeks in port cities and markets, Li Wei prepared for the return journey. He had learned valuable lessons about trade, friendship, and respect. The journey had transformed him from a young merchant into an experienced traveler and observer of the world. Did you know that the Silk Road was over 4,000 miles long? Camels were called ships of the desert because they carried goods across deserts. Travelers often learned languages, recipes, crafts, and songs along the way. The Silk Road helped create the first global connections in history. Li Wei realized that the true treasures were not silk or spices, but the friendships, lessons, and experiences he gained. Trade was important, but understanding and curiosity were even more valuable. The Silk Road was also dangerous. Sandstorms, mountains, and bandits tested travelers, but every challenge made them stronger and wiser. Li Wei had learned courage, patience, and respect, lessons he would never forget. And so, the Silk Road connected the world, not just with goods, but with ideas, stories, and knowledge. Every traveler carried a piece of culture, sharing it with others, creating a world connected long before modern technology. Li Wei finally returned home to Xi'an, carrying not only silk and spices, but also stories, knowledge, and memories. He had crossed deserts, climbed mountains, visited bustling cities, and met people from many cultures. Every step had taught him something new. He shared his experiences with his family and friends. They listened in awe to stories of deserts, bandits, mountains, markets, and distant lands. Li Wei realized that the journey was about learning and sharing, not just trading goods. And now you have traveled the Silk Road with Li Wei. You have seen deserts, mountains, cities, and diverse cultures. Remember that the world is connected through curiosity, respect, and friendship. Every journey teaches us something new. Thank you for listening to this story in English. Keep exploring, keep learning, and enjoy the adventure in every story you hear. Goodbye, and see you on the next journey.